When management packs are downloaded from Microsoft's website, or if you purchase them from a third-party website, they come with basic settings and threshold values, which may need to be adjusted in your environment. But since you cannot directly alter a sealed management pack that you purchase from a third party or that you download from Microsoft's website, you would create overrides to alleviate that issue. So in this video, we're going to look at how to tune management packs. We'll look at how to create groups and create overrides. And I'll actually give you a demo of how to create some groups and actually how to create an override for a particular setting. As I mentioned in an earlier video, in Operations Manager, you can organize discovered objects into groups. But if the groups that are included in management packs do not meet your needs, then you'll need to create your own group. And you would create groups to target those groups for override settings or to just group similar objects together. Let's just say if you had to monitor a certain group of computers, and although the groups for a SQL servers or for Windows servers are already created by your management packs, but the actual SQL servers that you need to monitor are not. So that's why you would just go in and create a group of those particular SQL servers. And groups are pretty straightforward to create. You would just use the Create Group wizard, which is available in the authoring console to manually create a group. And from there, you would just right mouse click Groups, create a group, and then the Create Group wizard will walk you through the different properties and whether you wish to create a static explicit membership group or a dynamic membership group. Overrides in Operations Manager are used to adjust settings in a particular management pack. As I mentioned earlier, a sealed management pack cannot be directly altered. So an override is actually used to alter the settings of a particular monitor or rule within a particular sealed management pack. So with overrides, you can turn monitors and rules on or off. You could change threshold values, either adjust the thresholds up or down to fit your environment, and you can alter whether a monitor creates an alert in the event of a particular threshold isn't reached. So an override effectively, it changes the way a setting works without changing the original structure of that underlying management pack. So that original management pack is not altered, but you're just overriding the settings and then storing that override in an unsealed management pack. And then overrides target a specific rule or monitor, and it prevents it from acting on an agent-managed system or a group of agent-managed systems. In this demonstration, you're going to see two things. One, you're going to see how to create a group, and then how to create an override that will actually adjust the settings of a particular alert that I have in the console. So the first thing that you're going to see is how to create a group. If I open up the Operations Manager console and go to the authoring pane, and from there, if I open up authoring, I will actually see groups, and these are the groups to the right that are created dependent upon the management pack that you import. So to create a group manually, I would just right mouse click groups, click create a group, and that opens up the create group wizard. The general properties page allows me to give a name and a description along with the management pack that I'm going to store this group in. A group is a management pack element or object, and you would need to store it in an unsealed management pack. After I give the group a name and give a description, now you don't have to give a description, but it helps you when another administrator comes behind your work to see what that particular group is. Now I'm going to store this group in a management pack, and I've created a management pack called OpsMan Management Pack. You can create a new one here, or you can create an unsealed management pack earlier before you even run the wizard. So I'm just going to select the Ops Manager management pack that I created earlier. Click Next. And this is where I get to define what my explicit group membership is going to be. Once I select Add Remove Objects, I'm going to have the option to select any of these particular objects that are discovered via the library management packs or even install management packs. So I am going to look for the Windows Server object. So I have to scroll all the way down to look for the Windows Server object. And I can actually look for Windows Server 2012 R2 computer. So that's the computer I'm looking for, Windows Server 2012 R2 computer. Click search, and the wizard will bring up a list of all of my 2012 servers that are discovered. I would highlight any of the servers that are available in this particular list. Since this is a list of specific SQL servers, I'm just going to highlight the SQL server, click Add, click OK, click Next. Under Dynamic Membership, now if I wanted this to be populated dynamically, then I would just click Edit or Create Edit Rules. And from there, I would actually define a query. Basically, I would insert either an expression, a group, or an AND group, an OR group, and I would just build this particular membership via an expression. Under the subgroups, you can actually choose to create subgroups, and subgroups allow you to further define what your particular group membership is. So if I was looking for like my Windows Server, and I'll find the list of Windows servers, then I can actually just look for Windows servers that have define another criteria for those particular Windows servers, maybe based on group membership, location, or even a service that's running on those particular computers. And then lastly, especially if I wish to create a dynamic group, I can actually exclude objects from that dynamic group the same way I would include objects in a static group. And once I'm satisfied with my group membership, I would just click Create, and that creates the group. And I can scroll down to see the group that I created. I called it Ops Manager SQL Servers. And there it is right there. And if I go into the properties of it, there's the group, explicit members, dynamic submembers, excluded, knowledge articles, or I can even see any overrides that are targeted for that particular group. Now, when it comes to creating overrides, I'm going to just adjust the setting of a particular monitor. Now, if I come over to my monitoring workspace and click on active alerts, I have a memory alert, free memory alert. If I click on that alert, and this is an alert on a network device that I have, if I right mouse click the alert and open Health Explorer, Health Explorer will allow me to drill all the way down to the root of that particular alert. What monitor is actually firing that alert? And the monitor tells me this is a free memory, Cisco memory-1 memory alert. And if I look in the details pane, I'll see a summary of this particular monitor, the different options, the interval, the number of retries, the number of sample tries before the state of that particular monitor changes, timeout value, and the threshold. And also the cause and resolution if this particular alert should arise. If I click on the state change events, I'll see that the status of this particular monitor has changed from healthy to critical. So if I right mouse click the monitor and click Monitor Properties, I have the ability, if I click under Configuration, now some monitors have a configuration tab, others do not. It just depends on who created that particular monitor. If I click on the configurations, I'll see the actual interval, number of retries. It's like an XML file. And the actual memory value. And the memory value is 1. But if I close the monitor properties and go to change state events, I will see that the value that I'm receiving is 1.56. So it was greater than the threshold of 1, so that's why that alert fired in the console. Well, I want to adjust this value. The value of 1 for my particular environment is a bit too low. So I want to adjust the value in this monitor. And to do that, I would create an override. There are several locations where I can create this override. I can create the override here by selecting override, either disable the monitor, override the particular monitor. I can actually go back to the alert and create an override. I can go back into the health of that particular object and create the override. So there are several different locations where the override can be created. It doesn't matter where you create it, as long as you store it in an unsealed management pack, then you can actually adjust those particular settings. Now, as you see, whenever I select the override to either I can disable the monitor altogether or I can override the monitor. Now, when I click on override the monitor, it opens up a sub menu that gives you even more options. Do I want to override this setting for the mem-1 actual object, that specific object, or for all objects of a class of the class's memory. So for all objects of a class option, now that creates the override and targets it at all the objects encompassed in that particular class. Let's just say if I have a class of Windows Server 2012 R2 operating system, then the override will target the entire class of Windows Server 2012 operating system. For a group, now that allows you to select a group of objects instead of a class of that object. So that's useful if you just wish to target a specific group of servers, or as I mentioned earlier, that's why you create groups to target them for. That's one of the reasons to create a group, is to target them for an override. For a specific object of class, and the class is the monitor that's it's attached to. For a specific object of class, now that option is similar to the for all objects of type option, other than the fact that the option gives you the opportunity to select a specific object like a specific processor or a specific monitored computer. And for all objects of another class, now for all objects of another class, this option allows you to apply the override to all objects of a type different from the rule or monitor that you're actually overriding. So since I'm targeting this memory one object, I'll just select for the object mem1, and that will actually bring up the override properties. And for the properties, if you'll see that you cannot edit every single value of that particular monitor or rule. So these are just the ones that you can actually specify overrides for. So from the override property, if I select the enable override option, there's the parameter, whether it's enabled. The default value is true that it is enabled. The override value is either true or false, and the effective value is true. If the override value and the default value is true, the effective value is true. And if I scroll over, I'll even see enforce. Now that enforce checkbox means that, as I mentioned before, sometimes monitors are being monitored by multiple management packs. And if this is a setting that I want to be enforced, then it's also being monitored by another monitor in a different management pack, then these settings would override the other management pack setting. So any settings that you wish to adjust, you just highlight the override checkbox to say that you're going to override those particular settings. Well, I'm going to override the actual threshold. Now the threshold is an integer value, and you say, well, wait a minute, that value was 1.5, but the integer is 15. Well, that's because an integer is only numeric, so that's actually reading it as 156. So that's higher than the 1.5. So I can just change this value to like maybe 2 or 20. and that's my override value. And you have to save this override in a management pack. Now, what I would do is I would create a management pack for each seal management pack. I would create an unseal management pack. But just for demo purposes, I'm just going to save this setting in my OpsMan management pack and click Apply. Scroll down, and now you see that the threshold, the default value is 1.5, the threshold override value is to 0, and the effective value is to 0. So I would just click OK, and now I can go back and recalculate the health of this particular object, and it should turn to healthy. And the object has turned to healthy, the entity is healthy now, and the alert immediately cleared in the console. This concludes our video and demo on creating groups and creating overrides. So this concludes our video on tuning management packs. Our next video, we're going to look at management pack templates and I'm going to walk you through all of the different management pack templates and how you can actually create a management pack to do monitoring using the actual templates.